All right, let's fix the Mtxl. All right, guys, so we got to fix the Mtxl, and as you can see, I split my tie rod. Now, to buy all the tie rod ends for the Mtxl, you have to buy them in a full kit, all the ball ends. So unfortunately, what I have is I have the old ends from my 5T. Now, I have replaced them with these before. You just have to drill out this opening a little bit because in the Mtxl, the threads are a little bit bigger. So, let's get started. So it's actually a very, very easy fix. So, if it's going to, there we go. So it actually breaks right in there. Turn this. Give it this body. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove this end. Sweet. And as you can see the differences, see this end is just a little bit bigger. So if you wanted to, I mean, you could try to manhandle this thing and try to thread it on, but I don't got the time or the patience for that. So what I do is I just find, I grab a drill bit, that's just a little bit smaller than the opening. So that's just a little bit smaller. It's a 15/64 drill bit, just a little bit smaller than it. Now, I suggest that you hold this with a pair of pliers if you like your hands, because it has a tendency to twist. Now, it's not going to go right on. You're still going to have to manhandle it a little bit. Actually, I might have to open it up a little bit more. It's still way too small. Let me get this started. Hang on. All right. So now you can see it all back in. So basically, this right here, this is the old, this is the new 5T link. And then this is the original link that I, basically what you have to do is if you want to use the 5T link, you'd have to shave part of this down because you can actually see the differences. How this, Jesus, where am I? This one only has one side that comes up, whereas on the 5T, it has both. So you'd have to shave one of those ears off to get it to fit into the steering shaft. And then you can use the 5T end. Me, just to save time, one side of the link was still good, so all I did was I just swapped the link around. It doesn't really make a difference. It'll still work the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in a little bit. And now we are going to reinstall the steering linkage. Now, for those of you who have never done this, if you try to shove the screw up through here, it's not going to work. I mean, you could, if you bend it and everything, you can get it to work. But underneath the truck, there's little access holes right there. Let's see if you can see them or not. All I see is my big ass arm. See if I can flip this thing up. Stay. So right there, you can see the access holes. Right there. Those allow you to get your nut driver or your Allen wrench straight up. That way you can just tighten the bolt. So what I'm going to do is, because it's a little bit finicky, I'm just going to get the bolt in and then I'll come back. Alright guys, now that we have everything kind of somewhat organized, let's see if we can see that or not. Alright, so you can see the access hole. We're going to take our nut driver, and now we can just go right through underneath, tighten it up. Set this bitch back down. Take the other end. We are going to then let's see if I can relocate you guys. Form it back so you can see. We're going to lock this down. That's done. Oh. Gotta get my nut out of here. Alright guys, so now with this tight, we can now take... I have to silence my phone. So now, with the nut in, we can take our lock washer, or just our nut, underneath. I don't know if you can even see me doing this or not. And we're just going to secure it to keep it from backing out. I'm going to take our wheel, shove it on, take the nut which out of here, whoop, take it on and lock it down. So as you can see, I've actually used some leftover 5T parts. So here's the 5T end. On this side, there's another 5T end. And then this is the original steering linkage from a 5T. And what I did is mine broke from the Mtxl, and it normally went from here to here, it was shorter. I actually just connected it here and went to there. So it actually it makes me happy. So if I ever update this to the IRP link, I can get the IRP steering link right from the 5T, because this is the 5T link. Because even with that, I mean, there's a lot of slop in there. I mean, this whole steering system has a lot of slop in it. I mean, but then again, this truck is nothing more than a basher and just pure raw excitement. So what I want to do now is I just want to go over a brief description of differentials and differential setups, because everyone has their own personal take. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about differentials. So hang tight. All right, so don't mind the mess, but in my 5T, I run 150,000 in the center diff. I run 17,500 in the front diff and 30,000 in the rear diff. Now, the reason I do that on my 5T is I'm looking for traction, but not out of control traction. Basically, back in the day, I used to race this truck, and I found that with 100,000 in the center, it gives me that perfect, 150,000 in the center, it gives me that perfect combination of great traction. And when I get into a corner, I have just enough to step the rear end out, but not get out of control. Because when you're in a race, if you're loose, you're slow. If you get loose in the corner, you lose time. So you want the most consistent laps possible, and that's the way I went in my 5T. Now, as a basher, could I step it up to 500,000? Absolutely. But I've become so accustomed to my truck in that orientation that I like the ability to have it just on the edge, but still have great and total control. And actually, this truck, I can whip into corners. As you can see in my videos, I can whip this thing on a dime and always pretty much gain control of it. It's very controllable, but not out of control. On my Baja, I run 30,000 in the rear. Now on a Baja, the differential in a Baja is much different than a differential in like a 5T or a DBXL or an MTXL. Whereas if you take the differential out of a Baja, you will notice that there are screens on the spider gears. It's a viscous differential, basically meaning as this differential spins up, it's going to move the fluid much more efficiently and really almost act like a locker. So with this running 30K and running paddles, this thing has great traction. 30,000 is the key for me of what I like. So I run 30K in my Baja. Now, being it has the Turtle Racing setup, it has the quick diff. So all I can do is just pop that diff cover out, and I can change my diff whenever I like. It's much faster to do it that way. On my Mtxl that you just saw, this I run on the ragged edge. This is a basher setup, 100% a basher setup in my Mtxl. I don't have a locker. I don't like lockers, and the reason why I don't like lockers is I like the benefit of having an open diff to protect my gears. Now, a locker is going to give you the most optimal traction, but that's just not what I'm looking for in this. I want safety, so I run the next best thing. I have 1,000,000 weight in my center differential. I have 300,000 in my rear diff, and I have 200,000 in my front diff. This is the setup I run on my Mtxl. This will spin on a dime, and once the ass end lets go, if you're not quick on the steering and the throttle, this thing will just whip its tail out before you even know. With this setup in my 5T, if the tail lets go, it is much faster and much easier to correct it because I have a lighter diff. So basically, when the ass end starts to let go, it's basically going to allow more traction to go to the front tires to kind of pull myself out instead of sending a lot of power to the back. Again, that's just how I run my differentials. So I'm just gonna go up in the basement and we're gonna show some diffs quick. Hang on a second. Now these are just a couple of differentials that I had lying around. This one is from the center of my Mtxl. This one is from the rear of my Mtxl. Both of these are set up as backups just in case. This one has, again, 300,000 in it. And this one has 1,000,000 in it. Now, I was testing the ability to, I was thinking about putting a locker in this, and I had this lying around, my Team Chase torque dampener for the Losi 5T. And I was going to see if it would fit in the Mtxl. It doesn't. But with that said, I mean, that's just a brief description of the way I run my differentials. So with that said, we'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. And until then, later guys.